Amelia Earhart. Just hearing that name, right? You immediately think of courage, adventure, this incredible pilot soaring into the great unknown. She's this absolute icon of determination, someone who just looked at the limits people put on her and said, nope. But it makes you wonder, where did that really come from?
Look, we all know the legend. We talk about her record-breaking flights, her mysterious disappearance, it's all epic stuff. But the real question, the one we're going to dig into is, what forged that courage? I mean, what gives someone the sheer grit to face, freezing temperatures, engine fires, all by herself thousands of feet above the ocean? That's next level.
Well, you might think it was all about the cockpit, right? Nope. The answer actually starts way, way before she ever even touched a plane. It begins in a childhood that was, well, let's just say it was anything but ordinary. In fact, it was the perfect, if maybe accidental, training ground for the pioneer she was destined to become.
All right, so let's get into it. An unconventional spirit. From the get-go, Amelia was just different. In the early 1900s, there was a very specific set of rules for young girls. And Amelia? Yeah, she wasn't interested in playing by those rules. She was too busy making her own.
So take a look at this. It really paints a picture, doesn't it? On one side, you have what society expected of girls back then. To be quiet, to sit still, to be proper. And then you've got Amelia. A completely different story. Instead of sitting still, she was out there climbing trees. She was exploring everything, just filled with this unstoppable curiosity. She even built her own homemade ramps to slide down. I mean, come on. Every one of those so-called unladylike things she did, it was like a little act of rebellion. And each one built up this incredible sense of independence. She was learning to trust herself, not what the world told her she should be.
Okay, so it wasn't just about adventure, though. Her spirit wasn't just shaped by climbing trees. It was also hardened, forged, really, by some serious adversity. See, her childhood was anything but stable, and that constant uncertainty, it turned out to be her greatest teacher.
Her family life, it was tough. They moved around a lot, and money was always a problem. So her world was just filled with constant change, total unpredictability. Now, for a lot of kids, that kind of chaos would be just plain hard. But for Amelia, it became her training ground.
And that kind of environment forces you to develop one really, really crucial skill: adaptability. I mean, think about it. When everything around you is constantly shifting, you've got two choices, right? You break or you learn to bend. Amelia, she learned to bend. She got good at starting over, at making new friends, at finding her balance even when the ground beneath her was shaking.
And this right here, this was the core lesson, the big takeaway from all that chaos. She learned that life is uncertain, and because of that, success isn't about having some perfect, straight, stable road ahead of you. No, it's about persistence. It's about having the will to just keep going, even when the road completely disappears from under your feet. So you take that independence she had, and you mix it with all that instability, and what do you get? You get another defining trait, a really healthy habit of questioning the rules.
I mean, it just makes sense, right? When your whole world feels inconsistent, the rules that are supposed to hold it all together start to look, well, a little random. If your life can just change on a dime, why would you just blindly follow rules that seem unfair or, honestly, just pointless? It wasn't about anger. For her, it was pure logic.
And we got to be really clear about this. This wasn't just some teenage rebellion, I don't like the rules. No, this was the foundation of a pioneering spirit. It's the exact same mindset that years later would lead her to ask, hey, why can't a woman fly across the Atlantic by herself? See? She questioned the limits people put on her as a kid, and that's what prepared her to question the biggest limits of all, in aviation and in society itself. So let's put it all together. When you look back at her early life, you can see how all these different pieces just clicked into place, one by one, to build the foundation for the legend we all know. It really was like a four-step process. Step 1, you've got that independent spirit, born from all that adventurous play. Step 2, that spirit gets forged into real resilience, thanks to all the change and instability. Then, Step 3, that resilience leads to a habit of questioning everything. And finally, you put all that together, and what do you get? Step 4, the courage to soar.
And the key thing to remember is that these weren't just separate little personality quirks. They weren't in a vacuum. It was the combination of them, that adventurous spirit, that resilient mind, that habit of questioning everything. That's what created someone who was uniquely prepared to challenge the ultimate boundary. The sky itself. You could almost say her childhood didn't just happen to her. In a way, it happened for her.
So this all leaves us with a pretty powerful thought, doesn't it? Amelia's story kind of shows us that our biggest strengths often come from our toughest times. It really makes you wonder, and it's a good question to ask yourself, what challenges in your life right now aren't just obstacles? What if they're actually building your courage for whatever's next?